Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host Christopher Bowen on another edition of Fire for Liberty on this May 24th, 2016, 2017 edition as we continue to co-create, manifest, and ultimately produce unlimited amounts of course, abundance, peace, liberty, love, and the co-creative force of absolute and universal peace. This is something that expands throughout the entire of existence as we peacefully lead by example and pretty much exist and shine as the unlimited, unstoppable, and undeniable force of peace, of how it's absolutely necessary, possible, and able to promote peace, prosperity, and all the good, positive things that are occurring throughout the entire cosmos. Of course, this development of a Type 20, thankfully, Type 27 civilization, power storage ability or harnessing ability of the energy of 10 to the power of 266 watts, allows us, of course, to build and manifest and be able to co-creatively and continue this positive creation as we uniquely, through this free will universe, inhabit, create, and facilitate, and lead, and establish not only the foundation of this incredible galactic society, combined with all the peaceful types of communication and groups and contacts that exist, also through the entirety of who we are, what we are meant to be, what we want to become. And of course the fact that the revelation of the truth, revealing the truth, of course that we're not alone, and of course that the ability, just the understanding, and even the ability, the adaptability of what is, and of course, ultimate forgiveness and unconditional love, of being able to be in tune with everything and being in tune with, of course, our inner creator, inner spirit, and of course, being in tune with the total abilities, or, well, not necessarily abilities, but the total capabilities and responsibilities of running, managing, and storing the energy and using the energy from the Type 23 civilization up to the Type 24, 25, and here the Type 26. Once again, this continuous leadership, development, and I don't want to use the word power, but dedication is to exist as the grand and limitlessness of ourselves, of our minds, and of our potential. To continue on going forward with creation as this Type 26 civilization exists as a grand example of, as a major manifestation of creation, ability, positively, and intensity's desire for focus and patience. Of course, each and every single one of the, which could be called lessons, distributed throughout space-time, throughout this universe, and also through the throughout the type 19, type 18, type 19, and also is the type 8 and type 9 civilizations, the amount of energy stored, and the experience of witnessing and creating and going through that and using that co-creative force throughout the entire chakra system and throughout the mind really allows us to be once again in tune with the ultimateness of what is eternal bliss, eternal peace, and eternal love. Love, unconditional love, is forgiveness. We are one, we are in tune, we are connected. We are beautiful, magnificent, and absolutely fantastic elements of creation. Every single, of course, human being, every single being is important. Every single being is here, and of course, the grand beauty is, of course, one of the grand beauties is we are a galactic society. We are free to have these beautiful relationships, connections, any type of determination that you would like to disseminate for this type of unconditional love, this bond is evidence of proof of peace, of everlasting peace, and as well as the unlimited abundance. Knowledgeability and the growth and the development and the character and the patience and of course the wisdom gained, developed, and disseminated and built and continuously accelerated is and very, very incredible. Possible, not just possible, but evident focus ability for all of us to co-create. Now, here is it's already been reiterated, but something that is important to know. The very, very special things about our space family, galactic family, and our inner Earth family. Of course, the story of Olaf Jensen and Pat Wilbury, and of the types of history that we've gone through allows us, of course, to not only exist and develop and manifest and accelerate this type 26 civilization, but of course is the very pathway to developing, creating, and which is being made a type 27 civilization with power output of 10 to the 276 watts. This grand beauty, ability, and manifestation is just, of course, just the beginning. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Christopher Mark Curtis Bowen, on this edition of May 24, 2017. The ability to create, the ability to live and exist in and exude and be in unconditional love. peace, and infinite stability, sustainability, and dedication is only a taste of our potential and our birthright. The amazing lessons learned. Not that I should really bring up the past, but the amazing lessons learned about the amazing events that went on in various constellations throughout our galaxy. Lets us know, ultimately, how important it is that we continue to dedicate ourselves to the devotion of course, peace, unconditional love, and to sustain this to elevate and advance and ascend with all creation, if that is the intention, which is the intention. To live not only developing this type 26 civilization, which is developing into type 27 civilization, but to create and exist as the new brand, new history, existence, and understanding of limitlessness as we discover, of course, on this galactic society, which I live on, which is incredibly exciting. Of course, with our ability to communicate, to disseminate, and to lead, it is very key that we learn and, of course, pretty much stabilize all the grand, beautiful creations which exist now, which have existed then, and which we learn now, and what allows us to, of course, continue to develop with the balance of all, pretty much the balance of all creation, the balance of all realms. Of course, the balance of what's actually not just unity, but oneness with our Agarthian and Hollow Earth and subterranean advanced civilization brothers as one planet, as united one planet. And we continue to co-create and build the beauty of let me say this properly. Fresh sustenance, fresh water, pure shelter, living areas, I guess. With, of course, the elevated understanding of it, and of course, the projects that I've already mentioned, the projects that are underway, the beautiful facts of course, which I've already summarized as abundance, unlimited abundance. One of the very exciting things that's happening also currently is the fact that, which is good, of course it's great news and it's very, very positive, but the developments of many different types of which of course happens in a galactic society, one of the grand things is, of course, one, there are space supports, and two, there's development and also the revelation of underwater cities, and there's also the brilliant, peaceful, and magnificent forms of transportation, which are actually going to be much, much better than the forms of transportation that exist already in the tunnels, in the underground tunnels, subterranean tunnels. Once again, in this Type 26 civilization, the capabilities of not only uniting but manifesting and creating with the 11 spiritual laws, aligning with those allows us to be able to be in tune and to therefore resonate and therefore vibrate the very type of creation that is needed, wanted, and desired to manifest due to the balance of peace and, of course, due to the spiritual laws and the universal laws and the laws of consciousness, which are known. The unlimited balance, the unlimited peace, and of course the unlimited, well, by unlimited balance I mean by the unlimited wisdom that comes with, or not necessarily comes with, but the inner wisdom and the inner peace and the inner innate intuition, that's the word, is what not only allows us and not only enables us to manifest, but also is the very law of creation in the first place. One of the very laws of creation. That's actually very, very important, and that's ultimately what allows us to learn and develop and really love. 11 universal and spiritual laws, principles of the cosmos, universal law of free will, the spiritual law of freedom of man, universal law of change, the spiritual law of growth of man, universal law of movement and balance, spiritual law of strength, health, and happiness, universal law of innocence, truth, and family, spiritual law of protection of family, universal law of symmetry, spiritual law of equality, universal law of life, spiritual law of choice, universal law of light, sound, and vibration, spiritual law of intuition, universal law of judgment, spiritual law of karma, universal law of nature, spiritual law of protection of man, universal law of love, spiritual law of healing, universal law of perception, spiritual law of future sight. I'm going to read a note written from Richard Boyland, PhD. It may be noted that these universal and spiritual laws, accepted and revered by all member civilizations of the star nations, are not couched, I believe that says couched in the, quote, thou shalt, / not, ellipses, end quote, language of human, civil, and religious laws. Rather, these universal and spiritual laws have been seen as universally valid, self-evident principles grounded in natural law and in the fundamentals of consciousness and in each intelligent life form's connection to Source / God. The symbols of these 11 laws were found etched into the structure of the starcraft that crashed at Roswell in 1947. In Hochtowen, Dakota, Sioux, Chief Standing Elk / Golden Eagle took my photocopy of the Roswell craft symbols into an NIP, parentheses, close parentheses, Sacred Lodge. Ask guidance from the Tonkasilas, Dakota word for the grandfather's spiritual guide from the stars, and learn that the symbol stood for the 11 universal laws and 11 spiritual laws that all star nations' cultures accept as their common philosophical and spiritual foundation. Going off intuition, I'm going to segue. Skip my use of word. I'm going to segue. Of course, this is to be of course, all my listeners know this, but to be very one, open-minded, and of course being very intelligent, and of course be very wise, and of course use discernment, but that's already known. All right. This is the release to leak a highly classified Army intelligence report on the first two UFO recoveries, including Roswell, July 4th and 6th of 1947. This report contains fascinating details of who were in those spacecraft and what the military did about it. You can review the actual Army document at www.rense.com, RENSE.com/GENER-96/IPU_RE A highly classified intelligence report was created just 16 days after the first two reported UFO crashes. Of course, this said date July 4th through 6th, 1947, in Mexico. Has just been released. It contains interesting details of who were in those spacecraft and what the military did about it. The Space Intelligence Summary was prepared by the Interplanetary Phenomena Meeting of the Scientific and Technical Branch of the Army Counterintelligence Directorate. Originally classified secret, this report was then reclassified top secret, and then in 1960 the NSA director reclassified it as above top secret -ultra. Restricted to a need-to-know basis and restricted to those authorized personnel with magic access. Quote, hey, Hay, end quote. Parentheses, close parentheses, magic is the top, magic is the top security classification reserved for extraterrestrial related matters. The document further indicates that any lowering of this document's classification or its declassification would require an approval. Presidential executive order and might also be approved by the U.S. Majestic Intelligence and Security Group, open parentheses, as Secretive UFO Management Group, often designated as MJ-12, close parentheses. A photocopy of this intelligence assessment document can be found at the said thing that I mentioned before. Eye-opening, ! Check it out. This military document intended for the head of Army Intelligence and the U.S. President is the, quote, smoking gun, end quote, which ufologists have long waited. It establishes how long ago, 70 years, that top U.S. authorities knew, it says UFOs were real and contained intelligent visitors from space. I'm going to read another one. This the video clip is. This is actually let's read the description. Extraordinary actual video of an extraterrestrial woman from the Procyon B star system, Eve, walking about injured at the jungle site where her craft /UFO crashed after being shot down by the Cabal, Brown and Root, now KBR. Paramilitary mercenaries hired by the Cabal approached Eve, who is trying to evade capture in the Sierra Madre Occidental mountainous jungle of northern Mexico. This video was released by the MJ-12 committee to the public internet to expose the Cabal's unauthorized shootdowns of UFOs and kidnapping of star visitors. You can view this 1.5-minute video at www.youtube.com/WATCH?V equals 3B capital W capital V O capital L F I Y 7S. I'll read this description. The video clip is authentic. The video clip is authentic, super secret video footage shot by Cabal mercenaries sent on January 27, 1982, as a retrieval team to southwest Chihuahua State, Mexico, to retrieve the UFO and any star visitor crew members. 2 days earlier, the UFO crew had been seeing the beautiful U.S. Southwest Red Rock Desert scenery from 18,000 feet when their craft was tracked and disabled by a Cabal orbital neutral particle beam weapon and slow crashed into the northern Mexico mountains. In the 1.5-minute video clip, you will see a female injured star person survivor, I've dubbed Eve, warily peering out from behind the jungle foliage at a male Brown and Root, now KBR, mercenary approaching and narrating while a female fellow Merc video records the scene. Here is further information not provided by the video. The craft was from the Procyon B star system in the constellation Canis Minor, 11 light years from Earth. It carried a crew of 4. One crew male was killed in the crash. 3 crew, 2 females and a male. Actually, I just realized, I'm pretty sure I read this already. So I'm going to skim to this part down here. Eve plans to be an active participant in the effort to roll out an official acknowledgement of UFO and star visitors reality in the months ahead, and then everyone will get to see her, at least on television. I'm going to continue on. Go with me, George, and read this part. 2006. May 19, 2006. I'm gonna try and read this. May 19th, 2006. As reported previously, the Star Nations have been doing outreach to human individuals and small groups who have developed capacity for telepathic communication during the course of Star Nations outreach. To humans, Star Nations were impressed that humans of awareness, of orientation, open parentheses, of orientation to / service of source, God, close parentheses, were ready for service for the transition with commitment to action, not just a theoretical posture. But Star Nations also learned that many humans of awareness express difficulties in acting in service to fellow humanity and Earth. These difficulties expressed in priority order were 1. Lack of leadership, or distrust of the leadership offered. 2. Unknown or unclear personal mission objections. 3. Skill levels below necessary levels to accomplish the missions that were understood. 4. An imbalance in energy which prevents action or mission accomplishment. For example, the lack of sufficient time or financial resources to accomplish individual or group missions already understood. 5. Fear of retaliation by those by those of ego orientation, ETAL, against family or associates. The Star Nations Council was impressed that fewer than 2% of humans of awareness surveyed felt that fear of retaliation against self was an obstacle. Star Nations Council found such courage impressive. Counselor for the Watchers stated, High Council has approved specific measures designed to address these concerns. Star Nations understands completely the requirement of Source that the transition to the developmental stage called quote, fifth world, end quote, will be of the energy, intent, design, and direction of humans. Quote, for this to be accomplished, humans of awareness must be assisted by Star Nations at this time as a result of the fact that the contamination of ego humans prevents an unassisted transition, end quote. Star Nations assistance addresses each of the 5 concerns expressed by above humans interviewed. This assistance is already beginning and will continue. The 5 items of Star Nations assistance outlined below correspond by number to the 5 concerns of humans surveyed at random. Item 1, Zeta of the Star Nations have already begun to assist those humans in awareness to identify and select those with leadership abilities in various areas previously identified. Star Nations will lend all energy to assist in the protection of the selected leaders from contamination or unnatural influence by those who are of ego determination. This item will include personal safety concerns. Item 2, teachers of the Star Nations have increased and will continue to increase direct visitations and interactions with those who are willing to fulfill the agreements predetermined. This item includes protection of the individuals from reverse influence. Item 3, Star Nations have agreed to energy impact base skills adjustments and training for those requiring such measures, who possess the ability to assimilate changes without adverse consequence. Item 4, Star Nations understands that in addressing items 1 through 3, humans will be able to address this appropriately. However, Star Nations have approved energy manipulation techniques to assist in direction without loss and magnification of energy to achieve intended results for those who work in awareness. This measure of specific personal assistance will be limited to energy specific for mission objective requirements or support of same, end quote. Item 5, Star Nations will extend protection against specific attacks of ego humans directed towards any working in awareness or who are natural, undecided human of goodwill, when the specific attack is set with intent of targeting for retaliation or to cause individual failure. This item is set by necessity to state that the intent of harm to include any ordered attack to include any broad-scale retaliations which might include the harming of others with ego orientation, open parentheses, as collateral damage, close parentheses. Star Nation's protection will not include items of attack or chance unrelated to the work of missions designated to either directly or indirectly assist with the transition. The Star Nations have made sufficient progress in their grassroots survey of what humans want to be included in the new understanding between humans and Star Nations, replacing the invalid April 14, 1964 agreement with 4 governments that a summary of recent progress is in order. There is consensus that humans need to clean up the mess which the Cabal and their ego-bound fellow travelers have made of Earth and human society. Star Nations are pledged to assist in these human-directed efforts to reform and transform Earth and society. Star Nations is in the forms of lending energy to such human reform / transform efforts, and by providing information on the identity of Cabal and on their plans and projects. As soon as Star Nations detect a consensus and effort among human lightworkers and others of goodwill, not only to clean house of such Cabal types, but also to put in place mechanisms to prevent Cabal types from regaining positions of influence and power in society, then Star Nations will do 2 things. Star Nations will provide all humans with a full public knowledge of the details of the new understanding worked out with human input and consensus, and Star Nations will ratify the new understanding. As the counselor for the Watchers observed, Star Nations continues, quote, to operate under the mandate of allowing the development of human species to follow a natural path. Quote, while it is true that the fellowship of humans with Star Nations will indeed while it is true that the fellowship of humans with Star Nations will indeed by default alter the course of development, open parentheses, and the UFO cover up, close parentheses, it has been seen as standing with total compliance with all 11 universal spiritual laws on this level. The reason behind this ruling is that humans already possess the ability and skills to communicate telepathically and by out-of-body travel with others outside the current levels of Earth-being manifestation. It was also seen that the arguments presented by the Counselor of Earth proved correct in implication that humanity as a whole, unfettered by the corruption of those called human ego beings, Cabal et al., Cabal et al., close parentheses, would have at this point already adjusted fully to the understandings of Star Nation's reality, and that humans would have already made the necessary adjustments for these understandings to the philosophies and religious doctrines which guide individual and social developments, end quote. To prevent the foreseen danger of Cabal types with highly advanced psychic skills from reincarnating and posing as Star Kids while they quickly infiltrate, dissemble, and manipulate their way again into centers and positions of influence and power, at my recommendation, Star Nations has adopted a policy of embargoing dead Cabal from reincarnating on Earth until they have transformed from ego determination to awareness of relation to source, or at least to the developmental level of natural, undecided human of goodwill. Said transformation will involve heavy application of education and love. The counselor for the Watchers outlined this key Star Nation's new policy. Thus, counselors have voted to permit this action as carefully outlined and weighed to begin immediately without a moment of delay. Quote, to state this item for the recording aspects necessary, the, quote, transformation of said ego-determined humans, end quote, will begin with the securing of energy by Star Nations at the time of human body death, star set, quote, star set, S-E-T, star. To clarify, Star Nations will specify that all energy security measures respect the ability of humans to restore these energies into the human body and will not interfere with this process. Death set will be marked at the point where all human body energy systems are confirmed to be removed and separated from the individual energy identity. Quote, individual energy beings secured by the Star Nations will be appointed an instructor. Instructors will be those who volunteer to assist in this matter. Several of Star Nations have already set forward the intention and desire to perform this service. Quote, the counselor for the ones called Tall Zeta has requested the responsibility of leadership in these matters. It has been granted as a part of the transformation. All beings secured Cabal will not be permitted to interact with one another without Star Nation's direct observation. The purpose of this is to allow Star Nation's rights of full mentorship. Quote, the counselor for the Tall Zeta advises that karmic values will be tallied and those being instructed will be permitted the ability to select measures of service to restore balance to these values. The services will be monitored carefully by the mentors. Quote, energy beings will be restored to the reincarnation format of human once, open parentheses, the criterion is, close parentheses, met, colon, the ultimate criterion is, colon, until the Kabbalista between incarnations has truly transformed to an orientation of at least natural, undecided, or better respected awareness of relation to source, end quote. Quote, all these items are seen as in agreement with the laws of source, as defined in truth by 11:11 and given in translation by Lakota, see, Star Altar dash keeper / shaman golden eagle / standing up, end quote. The counselor for the Watchers went on to state that the content of the new understanding between humans and Star Nations, quote, will include the ability of humans to benefit more directly from the mentorship which Star Nations will offer under the new understanding. Quote, these forms of mentorship will include the opportunity for humans to be assisted in discoveries intended for the benefit of Earth being, as well as all species dependent upon the ecosystems contained therein. Quote, interstellar travel guided and assisted by Star Nations will be permitted to areas intended to provide the optimal learning opportunities for species at this level, end quote. This ends my report on recent Star Nations activity based on their survey of human respondents. In my view, things are looking promising for a successful transition from fourth world to fifth world as long as we keep our dedication focused. In the light, Richard Boyland, Ph.D., Counselor of Earth. In peace, unconditional love, and dedication to service to humanity, to all beings, and to source, and to creation, and to create, I dedicate myself to service. I love you all.